Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm playing with this palette from Ace Beauté. This is the Violet Sage palette, and I'm just playing with some of the green and pink tones, seeing what the quality is like. If you want to see what I do, don't go anywhere. If you're new to my channel, hello, my name is Rachel. I am a homeschooling, stay-at-home mom. My kids are currently in bed, but that won't last long. I try to film early mornings. I love to play with eyeshadow, but especially colorful eyeshadow. And I upload several videos, at least 3 to 4 every week. If you want to see more, I hope that you'll consider subscribing before you leave. Well, let's get going. Okay, so today I want to play with a brand new palette in my collection. This is the Violet Sage palette from Ace Beauté. Now this was released in one of the subscription boxes recently, maybe BoxyCharm or Ipsy, I'm not sure which one. But there's not necessarily anything wrong with the palette, it's just that since so many people got it without specifically wanting it, it has now flooded the secondhand marketplace. So I got this one for I think $8. And I was really excited about it because I actually think the color story is quite beautiful. I love the pink, purple, green color story and the variety of colors within just a small palette. My only qualm is that these two pink shimmers are pretty similar, and I think the palette really would have benefited from either a light purple shimmer that worked with these shades or a light green shimmer that worked with these. I don't think we needed two metallic pinks. Like, why? I mean, it's such a small palette, and aside from those two pan choices, everything else just makes so much sense. I'm not sure why we have two pink shimmers. I think they're pretty, and they're slightly different. This one's a little bit darker and a little bit more rosy. This one's more pink and bubblegummy, but they're close. And so I wish that it had been either a pink purple or a pink green shimmer to work with the other tones in the palette. Aside from that, I think it's really lovely. I haven't actually seen that many people talking about this palette. I think it sort of went under the radar a little bit, and I'm curious to see the quality. This is Ace Beauté's new formula, and I'm going to tell you, after a good amount of research and buying a few of the different palettes, I have learned that Ace Beauté's new formula has thicker packaging. Their old formula has thinner packaging, like half of what this is. And so that's how I tell the difference between the old and new formula, because it can be hard to tell, especially if you're buying secondhand. So this is their new formula. I had one of their palettes in the newer formula and 2 in the old, and that's how I know. But anyway, let's get going with this. This palette does come with a mirror, so first I am priming my eyes using the Glamlight Icing Primer in the shade White Frosting. I had an interesting day yesterday. I had a good conversation with my daughter, my older daughter obviously, about setting goals. When we were kids, my mom, she still is, but you know, in the formative years, she was really a big advocate for setting and writing down your goals. And she firmly believed that if you set a goal and then said it out loud and wrote it down, then the possibility of that goal coming to fruition was much, much higher than if you just thought about it. And we found that to be quite true. She made these little pages, because she scrapbooks. So she made these little pages that she would put in the scrapbook. Going into the shade Juniper, it's a dark green matte. And she called the pages All About Me, All About Me. And we would do these annually. And it would start off with, hi, my name is such and such. This is the year, this is who the president is, this is the grade that I'm in. And then it would move on to, these are the things I like to do. These are some of my friends, some of my hobbies, etc. And then she would move on to goals. Here is something that I would like to accomplish in the next 6 months. And she was very specific about the time frames. Like, there had to be a time frame attached to the goal. So here's something I'd like to do in the next 6 months. Here's something I'd like to do in the next year. Here is something that I would like to do in the next 5 years. And then we would write down the steps that we planned on taking in order to get to our goal. So for example, I was interested in attending medical school. So that of course was further than a 5-year goal, but it was still a goal and it was tangible. And as I progressed in my grades, I could make more firm choices in my life to work towards that goal, such as taking an EMT course, something like that. In my earlier years, some of the steps that I took to get there would be to read books on medical terminology and observe surgeries in an operating room, which I did. I was able to find a local doctor, and you know, the doctor was like, yeah, absolutely, you're interested in medicine? Come on. And she got permission for me to go into the operating room, and not a theater, but the operating room. I was standing next to her while she did these operations, and I was all gowned up and scrubbed up and like the works. I think I watched 3 different operations under this doctor. And I did that, I had actually forgotten about that till just now. I did that when I was about 13, maybe 14, early teen years. I'm taking a smaller blending brush and grabbing sage. And so that was one of the steps that I took to walk me towards my goal, to get me closer to what I was interested in doing. And it's not that when you write this thing down, it's set in stone. That's not the point, because as you grow and as you try new things, you discover perhaps what truly is a passion and what can be let go. And that's okay. The point of the goal is not to set your life path forever. It might, if you happen to be one of those kids who knows, like, you just know. Well, that wasn't necessarily my story, but the point was that I had a goal, and I took tangible steps in my life to achieve those goals. And what was very, very interesting, my mom was very insistent that we needed to say the goal out loud and we needed to write it down. Because there was something magical about hearing your voice speak the words and then watching your hand transfer those words onto paper and then having your brain read the words. Something tangible and real about that. And what was most fascinating was that I could go back to my all about me's that I had written in my youth, you know, or I could go back a few years later. And when I pulled out those all about me's, I would look at them and say, I achieved this goal in this time frame. Now, I never did end up going to medical school, but that was a situation of my interests changing slightly. They moved more towards science. I was enrolled in a medical science program at college when I became pregnant with my first child. And so my life actually was on a trajectory that aligned with my goals as a young woman when I was interested in science and medicine, and I found a way to combine them. So maybe some point later in my life that'll come back if I go back to school for a second career or whatever. And this is the same for my siblings as well. The majority of our goals were achieved within the time frame that we had set when we wrote them down. And we had no idea. For us, it was just, hey, filling out this little all about me. But my mom was like, no, you're putting down onto paper a concrete plan. This is a step that I'm going to take to move me further towards what I want to do, what I want to be, what I want my life to look like. So yesterday I was frustrated with my daughter because all week long I've been asking her, go clean your room, please. This past week she hasn't done that well, and her room was a mess. She doesn't yet share a room with her sister. Right now it's just her. I was like, please go clean your room. I asked her at least 5 times throughout the week. And she would go upstairs and she would be obedient, but she never quite finished the job. And then she would get distracted by a book or a toy. And believe me, I know about getting distracted by books. Yeah, all the time. But you have to learn to work past that. You have to mature and grow. And I was very specific in my instructions. I was like, I want you to clear off your bureau, clear off your little trunk that has toys in it. You've got things under the bed. You've got things all over the floor. Go clean your room, or I'm going to come up with a trash bag, you know, the ever-present mother threat. So yesterday I just got tired of it because I went up to her room to help her with her school, and her room was a mess, and I had to pick my way over things and around things and clear off a chair so I could sit. I'm like, okay, I'm done. I said, I've given you chances throughout the entire week to do what I asked you to do, and you've never done it to completion. It's always a part of the job. I said, so you have 5 minutes to tidy your room right now before breakfast. I'm going to go downstairs with your sister, and then I'm going to come up later with a trash bag. So I come downstairs, and it was so funny because all of a sudden I could hear the footsteps above me running back and forth as she like decided, what do I want to be thrown away and what do I want to save? It was effective. So anyway, she came down and we had breakfast, and while we were eating breakfast, we talked about goals. By the way, so far I'm not having any trouble with these colors. I'm getting pigment, I'm getting buildability, and also they're blending out quite nicely. I think that Karen Harris used this palette and she said that she wasn't loving the pigmentation. However, hers is a much darker skin tone than mine, so it might just be a skin tone thing where, you know, these darker tones didn't really show up that well on her or that deeply because she's naturally darker toned. On me, I'm more like a light medium, and so I am not personally having any problems yet. So I'm going to take a flat C or shader brush. I want to use the shade Cosmos, but I also want to use one of these pink tones. And again, since they're so similar, I think I'll choose the one that has more contrast from Cosmos. So I'm going to choose Anemone, and I will spray it. I used to think this was pronounced anemone when I was a kid. I'm going to start Anemone in my inner corner area and blend it out towards the green mats, and then I'll take Cosmos and put it down at the green mat. You know what I mean? You'll see what I mean. Anyway, so we sat down and talked about goals. And what I did was I was like, get a piece of paper for each of us. Now, I did this for her benefit, but I also did it for my own because I knew that her bad habits are somewhat a reflection of mine. And perhaps I haven't been setting the best example in some things, and I needed to light a fire under my own butt to get moving towards something better. So we sat down. I had a bit of a preamble leading up to the lecture. And then finally I said, I want you to write down words that you would like to describe your life, just adjectives. Do you want your life to be organized, creative, active? What words would you like to use when you're describing your life? Or if someone else is describing your life, what are words that appeal to you and like the idea of them? So I gave her some examples. I was like, for example, I'm flipping the brush now and grabbing Cosmos. I will spray this as well. I said, for example, I would like my life to be a little bit tidier. I don't like to live in a home that's messy. I don't like to have to step over things or walk around stuff. So once we had our adjectives, like how do we want to describe our life? The life that we want, not the life that we have, but the life that we would like to be living. Within the parameters of, yeah, you're still in school and I'm a mother of children and you have to work within where you are, but there are a lot of options where you are. And you have the choice to make your life more of what you want it to be, or you could simply exist. You could simply be here and go day to day and never move very far forward. One of the things that has gotten me thinking about this a lot is that my husband is in school on a 6-year track. And he was an example that I used to her. I was like, Daddy's on this 6-year school track. So he's putting in the work. Every day we see him. He comes home and he studies. He gets up early and he studies. He's having her drill him on some of his things. In 6 years, Daddy, after putting in all of this hard work, is going to graduate with a degree. And that degree is going to be a stepping stone to whatever God has next for him. I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, well, where am I going to be in 6 years with my personal goals and interests? In 6 years, I'm going to be 6 years older. My children will each be 6 years older. I have a small business. Do I want my business to fold? Do I want it to go under because I'm not putting effort into it? Or do I want it to succeed? My business is an art business, so that's part of it. But no one's going to hire me to do artwork if I'm not practicing. If I suck, nobody's going to want to hire me. And my business will not move forward because I haven't put the work in to make myself better to move it forward. The question was, what do you want your life to look like? Let's write down some adjectives and then be a little bit more specific and then say, what steps can we take now and in the next 6 months or year to get where we want to be? So this is looking pretty, but it's a little bit grungier than I want. I'm going to take that small blending brush that I used before, going back into Sage, and I'm going to add Sage to this outer area and the crease. I want there to be a bit more of this sagey color. I'm not having a problem with the shadows. I think the anemone shadow is a little bit thin, whereas Cosmos was definitely a little thicker and creamier. I think it's safe to say, especially because I did have one of Ace Beauté's new formulas in a different palette, it's safe for me to say that their shimmer formula is not my favorite. There are other shimmer formulas from other brands, which I much prefer, even to Ace Beauté's newer formula. But I'm not having a problem with anything. They're just not very exciting. Mattes have worked quite nicely. I'm going to take Sage and bring it on the entire lower lash line because, again, I want to bring some of this green tone to the look. So anyway, that was the gist of it. That was what my daughter and I did yesterday. And again, I did it for her because I'm hoping to correct some of her lazy habits in her early years. But I did it for myself as well because I also have lazy habits, and that's probably where she learned them. And I don't want to be lazy. I don't want to have these bad habits. I don't want to teach my next children. I have a toddler and I have a baby coming soon. I don't want to teach them these habits, so I want to correct them in myself before the next round of children are learning from me. There will be no change if you don't change. And that was sort of the lesson of the day. So I'm hoping that my daughter took something away from that and not just Mom's lecturing me. I think she did. She's a very intelligent young girl, and she and I have a really good relationship where she'll listen to what I have to say. I'm really grateful for that. With a small pencil brush, I'm taking Anemone and I'm putting that as an inner corner highlight. And I'm also dragging it onto the inner third of the lower lash line. I will say that sagey color really is a nice, soft sage green. I like it a lot. This is, I don't know that I would say it's a light tone palette because it's got 4 dark shades. No, 5. Violet is sort of medium dark, but still, it's got a couple dark shades that you can use to really deepen out or smoke out a look. And then it has some much lighter tones as well, so you get a decent balance, even though it's a small palette. Again, I would just say, I wish that one of the pink shimmers were a green or purple shimmer. I think that would have rounded out the palette fully. For my waterline, I want to use this light green shade. It's called Aglow. It is from ColourPop's Lush Life collection. This shade will help lighten up the lower lash line and highlight the lighter sage tone. And now I'm going to go off camera and finish up, and I'll be back to close out this video. I forgot to tell you guys, after my daughter and I had our little chat, I left her downstairs with her sister while her sister finished eating Cheerios, and I went upstairs with an empty trash bag, like a big 13-liter kitchen trash bag, and I came downstairs with a full trash bag. I got rid of everything that was in the spaces that I told her to clean up. Top of her bureau, top of her trunk, top of her desk is supposed to be only school, top of her bedside table, the floor, under the bed, everything that was in the spaces that I told her to clean, which she didn't clean. If it wasn't clothes and it wasn't a book that was like part of a series or something, it went in the trash bag. So then she watched me dump it out onto the living room floor and sort through what I was going to give away and what I was going to throw away. And actually, it surprised me how well she handled it. She handled it like a champ because she knew it was coming. I had been warning her, and I think it was actually a little bit of a relief that someone else had done the hard work, because sometimes it's hard to go through your own stuff and get rid of things, right? You have emotional attachments to stuff, or you have nice memories, or you wanted to give that picture to somebody. So to have someone else do that for you, be like, just blanket, throw it all away, get rid of it. I think that she was a little bit relieved by that because she didn't give me any attitude. She didn't, you know, holler, I hate you, Mom. No, she didn't even object to anything except the one I had pulled out, brought down a picture that we were going to frame. And she's like, no, you said we could frame this. I was like, yes, you're right. So you can bring that back up. But everything else was gotten rid of. And she handled it like a champ. She was very mature about it. And then she, you know, trotted upstairs and finished her schoolwork. And I really do feel like she was kind of happy after it was done because her room was cleaner. It was nicer to be in. And I had done the hard work of getting rid of stuff. Do you know what I mean? So my lesson in there is follow through. It felt so good for me to go up and get rid of these things for her. Because again, I kind of need to do it in my own life as well. And now I'm like, okay, what things in my makeup box don't get used? What books can I get rid of? What earrings haven't I worn in a year? What can I get rid of? It just feels so good to declutter. And so that's what I did for my daughter. And then we had that really good chat about goals. And I would encourage you, if you haven't done that, like, look at where your life is. And if you want to change something, what do you want to be different and what can you do to get there? It's a really valuable and helpful exercise, and it can be very powerful as well. So as far as the eye look goes, I do like it. I haven't had any problems with the shadows. Again, I think that one shimmer was a little bit thin. Maybe the other pink shimmer would have been a bit thicker, but I think it looks pretty and I like it at the end of the day. I did a winged eyeliner and I have some BH Cosmetics highlighter on my face. And on my, I am wearing a blush. It's Dolce Pink from Milani. And on my lips, I'm wearing the shade Cranberry Pie from NYX Butter Gloss. And that's everything. I appreciate you very much for being here. I hope you liked the video. Hope it wasn't too long and rambly. Remember to subscribe before you leave if you want to see more. And until I see you in my next video, I hope you have a great day. Bye.